I'm Andrew Banks with Performance Wraps.
And I'm Tanor Banks, also with Performance Wraps. So we do all sorts of stickers, essentially. So giant stickers for cars, also known as vehicle wraps. So we do full custom printed wraps for businesses, all the way down to partial wraps, decals, stripes, and paint protection film.
Where I feel like we win is just in the pure the crazy customization that you can do. It's removable as well. On the commercial side, from the advertising standpoint, I mean, you can go full crazy custom, draw all the attention possible on the wrap, and then 5 to 8 years, cycle the truck and just pull it off, and now you can sell just a white van to the next contractor. I essentially lost everything and hit rock bottom, when in the grand scheme of life I didn't have much to lose. So in that time in my life, I mean, it was brutal. I lost everything, but then in hindsight, and then also looking at this timeline of life, I would have much rather lost absolutely everything and learned my lessons from 20 to 24 than from 50 to 54. I had a lawn care business, and Performance Wraps technically is the company that lettered my lawn care business, and then came in there to get one of my trucks lettered. He had talked about wanting to retire and get out of the business. I was young, naive, I didn't even think I could legally drink yet. Ended up buying the business. I thought was going to be a $50,000 purchase of Performance Wraps for me to run it. Ended up time lawyer fees and borrowing from Peter to pay Paul. It was closer to $250,000. I bought a business that was just bleeding money, honestly. The one thing I always tried to make sure I had paid, or at least negotiated on terms, was my rent, because I knew if I lost my building, I lost the business, and that's my only shot and a prayer to get out of this thing, was for this business to actually succeed. So yeah, that's how I ended up on the futon. I didn't really have anywhere else to go.
And then that's when I come up.
Yeah.
My condition was, I'm not sleeping on the futon at the shop. I was attending college at Auburn University all the way in Alabama. So I was working at a 5-star hotel, but I just didn't want to be in the hospitality industry. So I was talking to Andrew one day. He's struggling. I don't know what to do. So I was like, do you want some help? And he showed up 2 weeks later with a moving truck. We used to mow all day, and then when the sun went down, we would wrap all night.
Yeah.
So that was how we used to pull the 100+ hour weeks very easily.
Well, if you know anything about lawn care companies in general, it is impossible to get people to show up to work every day. So we literally physically wrote down a pros and cons list of both businesses, and the only pro to lawn care was that I get to work outside and I get a tan. So that was not worth keeping for the tan. Tried to sell it, didn't go well, ended up just having to kind of liquidate the assets at that point, sell off the mowers and pretty much get pennies on the dollar of what it was worth, but pretty big lesson learned.
My only small regret would just be, so I went into this at about 21 years old, and obviously as a female, and I just felt like I didn't belong in the business space. So I would say my only regret is going into it with that lack of confidence, and thinking I wasn't worthy of owning a business for absolutely no reason at all. But other than that, I feel like I was dealt a certain deck of cards, and I've done the best that I absolutely can with it.
It sucks. It's rough.
It is very rough.
Yeah, so
it's
don't.
Not for the faint of heart.
Yeah, don't look at the highlight reels and the Gary V's and the Elon Musks and Jeff Bezos where they are now. Look at where they were when they started, and the work ethic and the resiliency and everything else that they had to have to get going and get started.
We don't clock out a lot. Even when we have date night and go out to dinner, we're strategizing the business, and I'll joke, I'll say okay, let's not talk about the business. And then we're sitting there real quiet, and I'm like, okay, let me just say this one thing. But it's just it's so much our whole life right now.
At this point, it doesn't follow us home as much, because we can very easily just go to the paper and be like, I respect your input, but respectfully, I decline it. I'm doing this, or vice versa.
He means there is a physical piece of paper. Mm-hmm. We even show our whole team, just in case, because we swap roles a lot, mm-hmm. and so it gets confusing. They don't know who to go to. So every 3 months, it's here's our new roles.
Truth, I didn't know it was called entrepreneurship in the beginning. but I've always had a fascination with business. First grade, my mom would pack my lunch, and she would pack honey buns. Well, I very quickly found out that honey buns were a hot commodity. So at the lunch table, I was like selling my honey buns or trading it for someone to do my homework. I had lawn care before, started that when I was like 16. So even when I'm on a lawnmower, it was like headphones with like audiobooks, podcasts. Like, I didn't listen to music, I studied the entire time. I think I went to school to be an engineer for a very like small amount of time. And then very quickly I was like, I want to be the one who runs the business that hires the engineers. What position is, like, how do I go to college for that? And then very quickly learned that you don't go to college for that. I love the growth, just the trajectory that we're on. The rapid growth is a lot of fun for me. I love being in the position we are for that and still aiming towards that North Star. We're buying this building, so this is our flag in the ground. We're not going anywhere. And now we live just a few blocks down, and no longer live in an RV or in a shop. We actually have a house and a bed now.
We have air conditioning.
Yeah. We're gonna get to the top, and we're gonna be there. And then the goal isn't just continue rapid growth. It's gonna be, that big corporate business of like, all right, you have to maintain, with the rate of inflation kind of thing. That's gonna be incredibly boring for me. So I'm sure at that point it'll be time to trade my replacement, and maybe it's 5 years, maybe it's 50 years from now, and move on to the cupcake shop, and let's make that the biggest and best thing. Who knows?